Hello, world. This is America's Supermom, and this is a special edition that I call the Corona Chronicles. During this time, we are suffering from a pandemic that is affecting everyone across the world. We are joined with the rules and regulations of being shelter in place, which means we are limited with the ability to go about our daily business, confined to our homes based on a coronavirus that has been sweeping the entire world. For some people, the effects could be mild. For others, it can be fatal. So we are coming together as a community, as a family during this time of difficulty to share what it is like in our part of the world, how we are affected, and the things that we have in common, what kind of problems that are taking place in our industries and in our relationships and finances, and coming together so that we can plan for a better tomorrow. As this epidemic or pandemic crosses the world, we are waiting for relief. We're waiting for the virus to die off and for us to go back to some state of normalcy, whatever that may be, after things kind of settle down. So, what is that going to look like once the dust settles? How are things going to be different? So, as we go through this process, we're coming together as a world to create ideas, strategies, connect in ways that we have never connected before. So, that is the purpose of the special podcast that I call the Corona Chronicles, so that we can get some insight and have empathy and compassion on one another, create new innovative ideas that can not only improve our life, but our fellow brothers and sisters across the world. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello, hello.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
I am well. So nice to connect. You know what? I didn't even realize that it was a holiday. So I really appreciate you taking this time out on the holiday to record this interview.
But your whole hang 1 second, 1 second. I just dropped my headset.
Okay.
Do you want to reschedule it since it is the holiday?
I'm fine. It's up to you. I leave that option up to you.
Oh no, I'm fine. I
Okay.
felt
Yeah.
bad that
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I didn't even realize that just goes to show you how much I have just been having my head into my work. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
mhm. But yeah, it's a great time. Matter of fact, my kids are still asleep, so this is great.
Oh,
Less interruptions, okay?
are they all home?
We actually have 10 of them that are here.
Uh
And
huh.
then I have older children that, have their own place. And then one of our daughters who lives on her own, she's here. She spent the night last night with her son. So it's been good. We are gradually transitioning to, um, leaving home and doing other things, which we haven't started yet. I'm thinking we're probably going to do it in the next week or so, because we are in Georgia. So we were one of the first places that opened up.
Right.
And we
How's
still have just been sheltered in place, just going to the store and to the gas station and occasionally to UPS, but outside of that, nothing else.
so? Are you feeling safe?
I think, I don't watch the news.
Hmm.
So I have a totally different perspective. And um, I do realize that I am fearful to kind of explore going out, but um, at the same time, it's like I really don't want to live in fear, which is why, we're still kind of sheltered in place, even though we really may not have the need to go out and do too much. We have, some children who are in their 20s that, their life has literally come to a halt.
Right.
They're not hanging out with their friends, the friends aren't coming over here. And so I'm very trepidatious about saying, okay, guys, you guys can go out and be with your friends because I am not really comfortable, really, to 100% on how that scenario is going to play out. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So that's the
definitely.
only thing.
And
I mean,
you can
yeah.
say stay 6. I always tell them stay 10 feet away from people, but you don't know what's going to happen. And youth
Mhm.
will be youth. They're invincible,
Mhm.
but they can bring it home to you.
So true. And then, we have 9 other kids or 8 other kids
Right.
who may be still sheltered in place to some extent. So I think we're definitely going to, explain to them what that dynamic is going to look like. Because, my husband, he works for Amazon.
Ah,
So he still goes to work, and his nighttime routine when he gets home is, he doesn't embrace anybody. He comes straight home, takes all of his clothing off, anything associated with being at work. Certain things he keeps in his car, he doesn't even bring in. His shoes are a different part of the house,
right.
and he showers and everything. So to really kind of have them conscious, I mean, we kind of have that kind of philosophy just when we go to the store, which is, you know,
Yes.
so it's somewhat of a routine for the kids, but I'm just, we just going to have to be very vigilant about, hey, guys, this is, how it's going to have to be until we are, you know, in a place to where it is more of a subconscious habit
Right.
until, so I think that's pretty much it, but in terms of them being conscious of wearing a mask and gloves when they go out, that's key. But I think it's just the whole thing of relaxing and feeling like you can be with your friends. I mean, it's like really, you want to go and connect with people, but if you're not socially distant, then that connection is around a mask and gloves. And how much of a connection is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? You
Yep.
can't breathe in your mask.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You're not comfortable,
Right.
so I don't know.
And it's
Yeah,
always a party at
I
your
don't know.
house, right? They might as well stay home.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we have been doing all kind of stuff, making videos and all kinds of things have just been going
I
on
bet.
here.
I bet.
Yeah.
I was driving down the
Mhm.
road. I live in a very small town, and I was driving home the other day, and there's a sort of a little community center, and
Mhm.
it has a decent sized parking lot, and I saw 6 cars in a big circle. They were all backed in, and every car
Mhm.
was about 10 foot from every other car, but this, across the circle is probably 30 feet or something. And it was a bunch of
Mhm.
teenagers, and they were each sitting either in the trunk or the hatchback of their car, and
Oh.
sitting on the back bumper or whatever talking. But their rule was, I don't know who figured this out, but their rule is stay in contact with your car. If you stay in contact with your car, and we park this far away, so they meet every week. It's
Oh.
the cutest thing. I took a picture. I'm going to send it out with
Yeah.
my new blog, because it's just somebody was smart, and they
Yeah.
get to socialize, and they don't have masks on, but they're really far away from each other.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we're entertaining doing for my daughter who is turning 24 on June 7th.
Mm,
So we have like 10 acres and we're entertaining, having a car
yeah,
party. So everybody, we have plenty of room for them to park their car on the yard, and we my son is a DJ, so we have speakers and ways that we can have music that can,
nice.
be in the area.
Yeah,
Yeah, and disposable. We have takeout boxes where the food is already prepped, where, you don't have to even prepare the food. It's not sitting out. No one has to serve everybody. Everybody already has a takeout thing. Everything's disposable. So yeah, that's what we're working
I want
on
to
for
say
her birthday.
that should be a videotape. Make
Yeah,
sure somebody takes
definitely.
a movie of that. That that's a Facebook right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I think this whole thing of thinking that there's only so long that you can go without that
Yeah,
connection. You know what I mean? And just for you feel like you're in another world when you're in
you do.
quarantine. Yeah, you have Zoom and all this stuff, but it's like I said, I don't watch the news. So my reality about, I'm a hugger. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? If I'm to see somebody, that's the first thing I want to do.
Yes.
I'm able to do that every morning with my kids. And you still need that element of a connection with people to, stay in some state of reality and
Right,
normalcy.
absolutely. I have only one kid,
Mhm.
but and
Mhm.
I'm a hugger too. And last week he finished his first year of college and he started his full-time job. He's working as an EMT
Mhm.
on the ambulance.
Oh, my daughter did that for a
And
while.
so he's quarantined. He's living in a tent in the backyard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I can go all summer without touching him. You know, your kid, you have to touch
Right.
him. I mean, I do.
Mhm.
But we're just
Mhm.
kind of, I'm still working. I see clients and I have ethically, I don't know if I can see them, even though I see them outside. I see them in person,
Right.
but outdoors. So we're pretty far apart. But I don't know if I'm exposed to my
Mhm.
son, if I could really have clients coming,
Right.
you know? So
Mhm.
anyway, so every week it's
That's
a new
good.
thing to think about. Try to figure out how to live your life, right?
Yeah. So true. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, introduce everybody to who you are and what it is that you do. I know we're connected through the summit through April, and I'm really excited for us to have a dialogue because, as we just expressed here um, right now, the whole thing is, living life through quarantine. I think a lot of times we kind of feel like quarantine is another world.
Right.
And, there's other things, moving parts that are going on outside of our home, so to speak, that affect everyone. So I'm really excited to have this dialogue. So tell us a little bit about, you and your client work and things like that before we really dive into some other topics.
Okay. So you'll introduce me though, LaShawn. I don't need to say my name.
Mhm. Well, yeah, you can go ahead and say your
Okay.
name. That's fine. Yeah.
I'm a Lane friend, and I am a psychotherapist in Northern California. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. But I have this special niche specialty that I love to work with, and that is people who have the trait of high sensitivity. So that's 1 out of 5 people, and we can talk a little bit more about what that is. But because I've
Mhm.
become an international consultant on high sensitivity, I work with people all over the world now, and I do that through my webinars. I have live Q&A webinars twice a month, and I am a 55-year-old introvert YouTuber. I have a YouTube channel
Mhm.
and I put videos up. So I never in a
Mhm.
million years would have thought that would be me, but I'm trying to get my message out and help people.
Yes. It's amazing how technology will get you out of your
It
comfort zone,
really
right?
is. And with the quarantine that we're in right now, I've been so much more time on video. I thought I usually would be teaching a retreat. I would have taught already 2 retreats this spring in person, and they were
Mhm.
canceled. So I thought, how
Mhm.
do I reach people and help people? Use the tools I have.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. And so this is so key because a lot of people are going through this whole thing of what they're used to is not really a reality anymore, or temporarily. We don't know if it's going to go back to what we've known before this pandemic. So explain to us, your thought process, how you had to kind of overcome this comfort zone in order to make that transition to
Oh,
YouTube,
that's a
for
very good
example?
question. It's funny because I I have a colleague, I would call her a mentor, and she does a twice a month
Mhm.
webinar Q&A for parents. Her name is Susan Stiffelman, and she wrote the book Parenting Without Power Struggles. And I was
Mhm.
a special guest on one of her webinars, and um, I so we did a lot of phone conversations, and I was astounded that she was reaching so many more people. I do equine assisted psychotherapy as well as regular therapy on the phone or Zoom or one day again, maybe in an office. And, one person at a time or one family at a time. And I thought, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'd like to help more people. And her model was brilliant. So I
Mhm.
said, so my first webinar was December 19th, long before America knew
Mhm.
about COVID-19. So I had already started
Mhm.
this process. I just feel like it was divine intervention that got me moving. I met
Mm.
Susan, she taught me about this, and I got going in this direction. So I was already pushing myself. But every single time I was in front of the camera,
Mhm.
you have to see yourself on Zoom. That is just
Right.
awful. It's so hard. Like in normal conversation, you don't watch yourself while you're talking.
This is so
It's
true.
the strangest
Yeah.
thing.
It is a transition. I know, and this is what a lot of people have to overcome when it comes to Facebook live
Right.
videos, or just the element of having video. But um I think the whole thing of having the mindset that you're talking directly to that
Right.
avatar, so to speak, kind of helps you kind of put it more in a
It's so true.
perspective,
And
you know.
every month I got a little bit better. Every webinar, I felt a little more comfortable. And then
Mhm.
I'm also in
Mhm.
a business networking group called BNI, Business Network International. So
Oh yeah, I've interviewed
you
Ed
have,
Mike.
that is fantastic.
Yeah.
I've been,
Yes. Yeah, I'll send you the
he's
article. Yeah,
awesome.
he's
He's a
awesome.
visionary, isn't
I
he?
mean, I tell you.
Well,
Yes,
our BNI
definitely.
meetings now are on Zoom. And I can't remember quite when we started, but it's been a
Mhm.
while now. So then I have BNI every week on Zoom. I have consultation groups with other therapists, and I just, I think what is the expression? Necessity is the mother of invention. And at some
Yes.
point, I just decided to stop being your typical woman, feeling bad about how I look, criticizing myself, and just
Mhm.
offer my gifts to the world.
Mhm.
And this is the medium that we have now. And
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
been
I love that.
transformational for me to actually, just let go
Mhm.
and be me.
Mhm. Mhm. And that is so key. So, this is something that maybe with your background, you could give people some tips on how to do that, or certain things that we need to tell ourselves, because the thing I think is so ironic is that we all have the same fears. We all have the same mindset about what criticism we give ourselves about doing these live presentations, so to speak, or Zoom, Facebook, or whatever. And what was it that really kind of allowed you to just jump into the water, so to speak?
I remember um, let's see, I would say in 2018, I jumped into the water of making a few videos about my business. And when I got them back, and it wasn't
Mhm.
cheap because I actually had a videographer, and I got them back and I just felt
Mhm.
terrible about how I looked. And the main thing, this is what really bummed me out, was that I looked disapproving, angry, or sad the whole time.
Mm.
Now, that was a real eye
Mm.
opener for me because that, I said already I'm in my 50s, gravity takes its toll, right? So everything starts to get a little heavier in the muscles. And I was listening with my person I was on video with, my colleague. I was listening intently to her, but I didn't realize what my face looked like when I was listening intently. And I was in a big frown, which is kind
Mm.
of my natural, way that the face hangs. So that was
Mhm.
a wake up call. I don't even really like to use those videos. I always say my content's good, but it doesn't look great. And I started,
Mhm.
a mentor told me to watch newscasters like the Today Show. You know, the Today Show has two female co anchors now.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I would watch them because
Mhm.
one, when you're on camera talking, that's fine. That's you talking. It's when you're listening to the other person talk or thinking. And I realized I needed to actually engage my face a little bit and smile a bit. And do you know, this is something
Mhm.
from therapy that I've read many, many times, different studies that if you turn up the corners of your mouth, even if you don't feel it inside, it makes you happier. And so I
Mhm.
started making myself turn up the corners of my mouth whenever I possibly could think of it when I was on camera. And I think that has
Mhm.
created a shift in how I think about myself and about being on camera. I think it's not that I look better, it's that I feel better.
Mhm. Mm.
And,
That's good. Yeah,
you know,
I
have you ever
think
heard
that's
that you're
very
supposed to,
important.
smile 100 times a day or something, or every time you look in the mirror, smile at yourself? Or it's crazy that it works. In fact, while I was talking about it, I started
Mhm.
smiling a little bit while we're talking, and it did make me, it brightened my day.
Mhm.
Let's get everyone
So
who's
true.
listening right now
So true.
to smile no matter how you feel.
To smile. I love that. Yeah. And that is really true because I think this is the element that allows
Mhm.
you to relax, to have fun, to and another question is, you mentioned that when you got it back, you look at yourself and you notice all these things. And I think also, why is it that we all look at the surface things rather than what someone
Right.
is saying in the
Well,
message? Because some people may be listening to your message and they're like, I don't even know what she's
yeah.
talking about. You know what I mean? I didn't get that from what she's saying. So what is it that
Well, I
has us
think
doing that?
one of the things I've noticed is that I almost never notice how other people look on their videos. Right? I get their
Mhm.
message, and often I think, what an amazing job they're doing. And I do
Mhm.
think it's that we have a more critical eye toward ourselves, especially women. It's just kind of how our culture is. I often say I wish I
Mhm.
had a lot more man in me so I could just forge ahead and do what I need to do and not worry.
Mhm.
But it's not the nature of woman.
Mhm.
Our nature is to be looking at the whole big picture and noticing
Mhm.
things. That's how we can,
Mhm.
keep our 15 kids together. That would be you, not me. Right? And
I
so
know
it's the
that's
it's
right.
the worry.
Yeah.
And I think for me, um, letting myself, the other piece I believe is feeling that my message is more important than my insecurity, that I want to help
Mhm.
people. I have a very strong passion around
Mhm.
reaching out to this 20% of the population that are highly sensitive. And if I hold myself back, it's not hurting me, it's hurting all the people that I could be helping.
Mhm.
And one of the traits of being
Mhm.
sensitive is a lot
That's
of
good.
empathy. And I do have a lot of empathy. And
Mhm.
I've just was writing a new blog, and I thought I was writing about how it's so easy for me to have empathy toward others. I have so much empathy for people in the world who
Mhm.
are struggling. And, right now, especially, we're having societal trauma, and my heart just breaks for people who are
Mhm.
struggling in so many different ways around the world. But the real challenge is to turn that empathy toward myself. And I think when we
Mhm.
can do that, then,
Mhm.
how you look on video doesn't really matter anymore.
So true. That's a great point. Now, so this is key because a lot of people are in this space where they've been home, they've been quarantined, their lives have done a major shift in some cases, and they are feeling like they can add value to other people and they can, share the message, so to speak. So, what was it that changed in you to where you got to the point of overcoming that insecurity to share your message? Because I think that's what a lot of people may be stuck in is, recognizing the help versus being
I
quiet.
think that there's a few pieces to this, and I'm not quite sure what that one thing is, but I think
Mhm.
again, just my desire to be of service to others. I have
Mhm.
a young client, 16-year-old boy, and he he and his family live in the
Mhm.
same town where some friends of mine live, and I do all their grocery shopping. They're in their 70s, and I offered when this whole thing started to do their grocery shopping. And
Mhm.
this young man is very, very withdrawn. He has a pediatric neurological disorder, and it makes it very hard for him to talk and to communicate with people. And also, he doesn't like to be seen.
Mhm.
And he's been delivering the groceries. I buy them, and he and his
Mhm.
parents deliver them every 2 weeks. And yesterday, when they
Mhm.
delivered them, my friends had left flowers and a note saying how much they appreciate it. And his mom sent me a photograph of him smiling really big for the camera. And she said it was the first time in years that he has smiled for a photograph. And he was holding the flowers that my friend had given him. And I sent it to my friend, and she
Oh.
said, that just made her heart swell. And I said, mine too. And here's the kicker to all of this,
Mhm.
the underlying thing is that doing good deeds heals everybody, the doer and the receiver. And for me, I
Mhm.
think that's the key is
Mhm.
that desire to help others, you know, and then it takes
Mhm.
me and my ego out of it. And not that I'm egotistical, but just that
Mhm.
concern that so many of us have that we're not going to be good
Right.
enough. And
Mhm.
I really do think that just that idea when I really felt like I was reaching people and that I would help. In fact, another thing I did for the first 6 weeks of the shelter in place, 3 days a week from noon to 1, I sat
Mhm.
on my Zoom on my computer and told anyone in business who would like to come and chat about what they need or how they're feeling that they could do that. I called it Alane Friends Open Office Hours. And even that, it wasn't a big, huge
Mm.
thing. It was just, I'm going to be available to support you. And I'll tell you what, buying groceries for another family when you don't know where
Mhm.
the things on their list are very specific and you don't know what they are or where to find them. It's in the beginning, it's very tiring.
Right.
And, but at the same time, and they kept saying, oh, you don't have to do it.
Mhm.
We'll pay somebody to do it. Um, and it's tiring, but I love the opportunity to help somebody. And that help can be just a small thing. It
Mhm.
can be huge, but it doesn't have to be. Those small things
Mhm.
are, they just improve our society, our planet. So I think that's the thing that got me over the hump.
Mhm. Mhm. That's good. And I appreciate you sharing that because, we all struggle with that. That's something that's across the board with everyone is getting that ego out of the way. And we all have it, and I think that's important to let everybody know. It's not that, we're superhuman or anything. We all struggle with the same thing, but just that tiny little shift to recognize the value that we bring to other people can definitely kind of give us the courage to, put our toe in the
And
water, so to speak, and keep
when you said
moving
that, I'm
forward.
sorry to interrupt, but when you
So
said
that's
that,
some great insight.
some people who took that out of
Mhm.
context might say that you're talking about being egotistical, to understand that you have value to offer others. But see how it's
Mm.
actually the opposite. It's actually, you have to let
Mm.
go of, any sort of concern about yourself to do it. And then I don't know, it's a very interesting paradox to me that
Mhm.
you have you have value to give. That's not being
Oh
egotistical.
yeah.
That's being open-hearted and generous and good.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it though is that, you were thinking about a good deed, but it's still back to the things of our own mind that stop
Right.
us from doing good deeds, which is the paradox. So just like you mentioned, you have a great message, but you may not let that message go out because you're thinking, well, how does my hair look? Did I
Yes,
smile enough? Do I
absolutely.
have on the right earrings? You see what I'm saying? That
It's so
struggle is so real. You know
yeah.
what I mean? But we all go through that, right? So then you think about it like that, it's like, this is silly, but it
Mhm.
has been such a natural pathway that we think about. And really, the thing that's even more profound is that there's no sign on your head while you're recording that's
Right.
saying, I'm afraid of I don't have the right earrings on, or I'm afraid that, I'm looking like an idiot, right? That is nowhere in the picture. This is all
Yes,
self
absolutely.
created. That's the
Absolutely.
issue. You see what I'm saying?
You
So I'm
must,
glad we
right?
can laugh about that now.
So I come from
Right.
Oklahoma, and I grew up on a farm in
So,
Oklahoma. So, the women in my family are kind of tough.
mhm.
And my aunt said to me probably quite a while ago, but
Mhm.
I was old enough that it was harsh. She said, "Look, this is the youngest you're ever going to be, so you better enjoy it." It's true.
So true. This is true. I know. Every day we get older and older. I know. It's like, and it's amazing because I look at my kids and I feel young and
Hmm.
I feel, relevant, current, and just to see them flourish. And, I'm celebrating, here in a couple of weeks,
Right.
another child who's going to be 24, and then it's like, they just keep aging and it's like, wow, I
Right.
remember when
Right.
I was 24. Okay, I'm not 24 anymore. So reality does set in. So switching gears a little bit, talk to us about, the summit and how you got connected with this
So
summit that we're
I,
connected with
April
April and
Bonnie
Bonnie.
reached out to me and my colleague Elaine Aaron, and because we do a lot of work, I especially work with families and parents of children who have this trait I've been talking about, highly sensitive children and highly sensitive people, and just the
Mhm.
the way if you have a child or you are is they think a lot, they process things really deeply, they become easily overstimulated or overwhelmed. They notice every little thing around them. This is the kid who noticed that you got
Mhm.
your hair cut, and they um,
Mhm.
they have a strong emotional
Mhm.
reaction to things around them and a lot of empathy. So the thing about these kids, and this is why April was
Mhm.
interested in having highly sensitive families represented in the summit, is that if they get good enough parenting and they're not made to feel ashamed of being more sensitive than their siblings or their classmates, they actually do better. They have less illness, less mental health issues. They're much less likely to have drug and alcohol problems. Just everything you could think that could go wrong as a child grows up, it's much less likely to happen to a sensitive child.
Mhm.
We call them orchids because they need a little special handling. And the 80% who are not sensitive, we call them dandelions.
Mm.
They are so resilient. Like dandelions can grow in a crack in the sidewalk. People
Okay.
walk on them and they still do well and look great, beautiful. Dandelions are beautiful, but they're
Mhm.
plentiful and resilient.
Mhm.
And orchids need a little special care.
Mhm.
And they're the ones who become, philosophers and religious leaders and healers and artists and creatives. So we all need
Mm.
that side of our population. But I think these children can be
Mhm.
challenged by family dinners. And just a little bit of tweak here and there. I talked about it with April in our summit. A little tweak here and there can make all the difference for them. So we were eager to get involved and to sort of represent and talk about
That's awesome.
how families can support all the different temperaments of their children. I'm sure you have a wide variety in your family. And, every kid's different. They always say you never get the same kid twice,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. So true. So true. Now, so this is really interesting. So, give us an example of something that a highly sensitive family might approach a family dinner
So
as opposed to a
those
quote
orchid
unquote normal
children,
family.
by the end of the day, if they've been at
Mhm.
school all day and running, running, running the way we keep our kids running these days, they're exhausted. They
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
done. They need downtime.
Mm.
So, sitting down at the table for dinner and having a regular structured family dinner might result in them lasting 5 minutes and then having a tantrum or a meltdown. You know that child. And so, an example
Mm.
of how one could help is
Mhm.
this family could all sit together for breakfast, or they could make sure that that child has time
Mm.
alone out in the yard, just decompressing from their day rather than being in the mix or having to do their homework and having a lot of pressure on them after school
Mhm.
before dinner if it's important for them to be able to be at dinner. Another um, thing that we talked about was maybe one
Mhm.
dinner a week, the child who has the more finely, we call it a more finely tuned nervous system, they get to plan, every child gets to plan a dinner. And maybe this child plans a dinner where everybody eats outside. And so it just shifts. It's not the pressure of sitting around the table. And I'll just
Mm.
disclose that I have this many sensitive people, not by any means a majority, but many have this issue called misophonia. And that is, you probably know somebody like this, everyone who's listening. It's those people who just
Mhm.
can't stand mouth sounds and they can get so annoyed by certain sounds. It doesn't have to be mouth, like the bottles rattling in the back of the
Mm.
car or somebody tapping their fingers or somebody snapping their gum. These people just have such anxiety over it that it's really hard. And sometimes a sensitive child, and I did, have this issue. So sitting at the table with everybody making their eating sounds can cause them to really come unglued. So, so what would it be like to put noise canceling headphones on that child? It is not something like none of us want headphones on our kids at the dinner table,
Right.
but
Right.
it just is a matter of being creative and noticing the different needs of different
Right.
temperaments in your household, and finding ways to make the family dinner work or to make connecting around the table work that's unique to each child. One of the
Mhm.
things April and I discussed was this idea of everybody comes to the dinner for a
I
certain
love
amount of
that.
time and sits around the table. And then the younger child or the sensitive child or
Mhm.
whoever can't do it, that they can still be in the room, but doing something else, still be a part of the family, but not have to sit at the table. And I just have to correct myself for one moment. I say all the time to my clients, you do have to train your children. They do have to live in the world, right? So what they want to do is go to their room
Mhm.
and get on their tablet or
Mhm.
whatever they want
Mhm.
to do or play with their Legos. And, so the compromise is
Right.
we'll stay at the table one more minute and you can go down on the floor and play with your Legos, but you'll stay in the room and participate in the conversation, that kind of thing.
Mm. That's good. Yeah, and I like that element of, this is what I call just
Right.
living life through experience, because one of the things that we noticed just with our schedule is that, we try to have structure when we first got on lockdown. Our kids have to do school from home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, we're having school 9 to 2, that's it. You're going to have breakfast, you're going to do this. And life happened where our kids couldn't sleep through the night. They
Right.
would be up. Some of them had panic attacks or nightmares or whatever. And we just said, okay, you know what? It's important that we finish our day's assignments. So it doesn't matter what that looks like. So if we start school at 12 and we end at 4 or whatever that looked like, or breaking it up during the day, that's important to understand how life is happening to us, and how we're responding with that, as opposed to having this structure that doesn't bend and doesn't take into account the changes that are taking place around us. So I like that element of being able to allow the person to be who they are and experience what they're experiencing, but then having some kind of loose boundaries to kind of allow them the space that they need
Right. I
in
mean,
order to
it's a dance,
grow
isn't
and
it?
develop
As a parent,
inside of
trying to
that.
figure out how to. You don't want to be
That's
just
it.
so relaxed and
Mhm.
permissive that your children are wild animals and spoiled rotten on the one hand, and on the other hand, um, you don't want to be so rigid that they can't
Mhm.
live and be themselves. And I think the research shows that parents tend to swing from too permissive to too strict if they're one or the other, because all that permissiveness makes you got to lock down at some point.
Mhm.
And really, it's
Mhm.
authoritative. It's being in the middle is what is the most
Mhm.
effective and best for the children.
So true. So true. So this is good. Well, I have definitely enjoyed this dialogue. This has definitely opened my eyes to a lot of different perspectives, ways that we can look at the situation. And that's all about learning and evolving and, listening to understand rather than to respond. I mean, a number of things, we can take away. What is the best way for
Well, I'm
um,
on
our
social
listeners
media
to get a
just like
hold of you?
crazy. So I'm going to spell my name because it isn't easy. My name is Alane.
Okay.
So I always say a street, a road, a lane. And my last name is Freund, like
Mhm.
a friend, but it's spelled the German way. So it's
Okay.
Freund. And so you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Those are my main
Okay.
ones. And then to reach out and find out more about being highly sensitive and find out about my live webinars, that's website is areyouhighlysensitive.com. All written out, areyouhighlysensitive.com. So I'd love to talk to people.
Okay. Okay. Well, I so appreciate it. Yes. And I mean, I think that you brought up some great points and something for people to kind of think about, as we have this time to reflect. I think this is so appropriate right now because some of these elements are things that would definitely continue to be unnoticed if we were still busy with the daily routines that we had prior to this time of lockdown, where a lot of these symptoms or just things that we would
Mm-hmm.
notice, traits or characteristics, would go unnoticed, you know, covered with life's daily challenges. So it's great to have you on and to share a different perspective and help
I
us
am
to be
too. Thank you
mindful of
so
those
much.
things.
I'm
So
so
I'm
enjoying
really glad that we were able to
your
connect.
work and all the things that you're offering to the world, too.
What a great interview. I started to edit out the beginning, but I just thought it'd be important to show the element of connection, how we can take people who are strangers who have never met, communicated, but how there is a connection based on being like minded, focusing on a message that you want to share, and moving the ego out of the way. So I really enjoyed this dialogue and just wanted to include the entire organic recording. So I hope that you were taking notes and were able to see all the nuggets of wisdom and just the insight into struggles that we all have It doesn't matter what your profession is, how many kids you have, what your home life looks like. We all struggle with a lot of the same issues. So I hope that this really provided a lot of value for those who listened. And if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email me at info@lachelleatkins.com, or you could reach out to me through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, or my YouTube channel. So please just share this insight with friends, family, write a review. It's all about us coming together during this time and helping each other face some of the limiting beliefs that attack us all on a regular basis. So I thank you again for listening, and please, as I close this podcast, I encourage you to think of ways that you can overcome your own ego and things that you think about yourself. Um, begin to put them on mute and continue to forge ahead doing those things that you are inspired to do and not being so critical and hard on yourself. That's all I have for today. Thanks again for listening.